Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pirate Radio. I am your host who needs no introduction whatsoever. Let's get the banner going. Hey, we're producing. All right, we're back. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, it is time for a shameless plug. Go to diefreeco.com and use code TOXIC10 to save 10% on all of their products. Don't know exactly why they gave me a discount code, but you can go there and get your little AR-15 grips and front little wedgie things. And this is a matching set of black AR-15 grips and Tiger Claw front grip, kind of a vertical foregrip / hand stop / barrier stop, what have you. Anyway, it'll help support all this dumb crap that I do for free, basically. I'll just put it right back into the show, this very low budget show. But anyway, be cool if you're buying stuff anyway. Just enter code TOXIC10 at checkout, and I'll get a little kickback, which is not a whole lot, but hey, any little bit helps. So I guess breaking news today is Tulsi Gabbard has resigned her post at the head of the DNI. Director of National Intelligence. She tendered a letter today, May 22nd, 2026, to President Donald J. Trump. It's a pretty straightforward resignation letter, nothing spicy in it necessarily. Her resignation will be effective June 30th, 2026. Her husband, she writes in the letter, but you can look it up online. Her husband, Abraham, has been recently diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. Obviously, she needs to step away to be with him as a spouse and wife would do. That did not stop certain douchebags on the left from saying mean things about it. And that Indian fucking guy who looks fake, Shriva, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I should know how to pronounce his names. I don't live in his fucking shithole country, and somehow he's been allowed to represent some form or fashion, some district in my beloved United States of America, goes and talks shit on Tulsi Gabbard, so that guy should be deported. I'm not a huge NASCAR fan, but, I don't really even keep up with it too much, if I'm being honest. Used to watch it a whole lot back in the day. But that doesn't matter. Kyle Busch, a very successful, highly decorated, very winning driver, basically dropped dead at aged 41. That one hits kind of hard because I'm 42. Yeah, I'll be 43. I'm not exactly an athlete anymore. I was once upon a time. Of course, this is starting with people starting to, I don't know, speculate on what happened. You know, it's way too early to start speculating on things about whatever it might have been. Let's take some time here, give his family some room to breathe, and stop with the speculations. This is not a controversial figure. This is not a political figure. He's a fucking NASCAR driver, man. Like, just give him the space. Give his family the space, let him mourn, let him grieve. We can always get to the conspiracy theories months from now or even a year from now, so let's just stop. That said, there was a big small election this week. It was a primary. If you're not familiar, Ed Gallrein was backed by President Trump, among others, to primary Thomas Massie because, we're not really sure why this all of a sudden happened. We can speculate. We can say things. Let's just put it this way. Thomas Massie was there in that district before Donald Trump. They had issues in the past, and by issues, I mean issues of political issues, not agreeing on certain bills. Thomas Massie kind of being a little bit of a thorn in the side of Trump, but both guys seem to agree that they liked each other well enough to support one another. Both endorsed each other at various times. It is worth noting, because this has been lost in the fray, that Thomas Massie was vehemently against impeachment of Trump. He called it out numerous times, both times, all times, any time, especially when they filed the articles of impeachment. He was vehemently against it. That's been lost in this whole deal. He has backed that statement up during this contentious primary, that he was still for Donald Trump and against impeachment and all of those things. Again, you run afoul of Donald Trump and he might primary you. Okay, that's fine. Plenty of people run afoul of Donald Trump who he's not primaried. There are bigger things at play here. Part of this, I think the title of this episode on the podcast forum is going to be, Am I Insane? And the reason that I titled it that is because I'm having the COVID hysteria kind of Twilight Zone feel come back in regards to this primary in Kentucky District 4. Not necessarily because it seems paradoxical. They seem unrelated. It is this marching, it's the lemming effect. This is, I've been giving my orders, I'm going to just walk out and do the things because the TV told me so, or something like that. And regardless of your personal feelings about policy or what have you of Thomas Massie versus Ed Gallrein, which you don't even know is policy because he's an empty vessel, he's a potato. So let's say you disagree with Thomas Massie. I don't know why you would necessarily. I don't know why you'd be vehemently against Thomas Massie. But the thing that is happening here, that happened here, Thomas Massie lost, if you didn't know. So Thomas Massie is going to be out of Congress when this term is over. It would be funny if Massie decided to run like third party and beat this guy in the general. That would be quite hilarious. It also would be hilarious if everybody who was so mad that Thomas Massie was ousted in this kind of nasty fashion, if they decided to vote for, I don't know, the Democrat, just to teach Donald Trump and everyone in the boomer GOP a lesson. I would find that quite funny. Would be quite hilarious, I think. Because the consensus here is that whoever wins that GOP primary, the Republican primary, is just going to basically walk into office for Kentucky's Congressional District 4. So I wanted to point out a few things, bigger picture. We can get into policy, and I'm sure I will get into policy at some point and some of the things, but there are... Narcissism in politics is not a surprising thing. The biggest surprise about the narcissism within politics is that it really infects the populace, the voting blocks. This sort of, I have to back this guy or this gal 100% because X, Y, or Z is pretty wild. There's a disconnect from reality in politics for some reason. When it comes down to this candidate versus that candidate, normally we see this with a left versus right. There's a complete disconnect from reality. My guy's got to win because the other side's going to enslave me or kill me or do whatever. There's this existential threat by the other candidate. We're always one presidential election away from ruin or prosperity or some version of either one of those. I wanted to point out a few tweets that came down in and around this election. So I'm just going to read you the tweet from Laura Ingraham from the Ingraham Angle, or she's on Fox. I don't know. Completely irrational, completely irrelevant, and everyday less relevant news network. So she tweeted this on May the 18th. I believe the primary was on the 20th. So she tweets this May 18th. If Massie is a, quote, true conservative, unquote, then why does everyone on the left want him to win? And people ate that shit up like catnip, where they said, "Oh yeah, that makes so much sense. If everybody's on the left, then I have to be against. If everybody on the left is for Massey, then I have to be against them because I'm against the left, and the left is bad and they're evil and all of this." Okay. The inherent problem with that is it's twofold. There's two problems with that. One, it means the left is going to control your behavior because the action or the reaction is the actual action. The Saul Alinsky philosophy there in Rules for Radicals. The other problem with that is now you paint yourself into this weird corner of, well, I'll just give you this example. It's the first example that popped in my mind when I read that empty-headed tweet was 2016, then candidate Trump was endorsed, quote unquote, by known white supremacist David Duke. Well, I can't vote for Donald Trump now because he's been endorsed by David Duke. If a white supremacist likes Donald Trump, then I can't possibly like him, right? But no, at the time, if you think back, except for the never Trumpers like, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, what have you, among others, my thought was, I don't give a damn what David Duke thinks, who he's endorsing or anything like that, because why would I? Like, how could you possibly, as a candidate for any office, and the bigger the office gets, let's say, okay, so David Duke has this track record of being a white supremacist. Okay, fair enough. Don't support it, what have you. So I guess he's on record, whether it's real or not, or propped up by the Southern Poverty Law Center or something like that. That's neither here nor there. Even though it probably was, he could be a CIA asset, FBI asset, something like that, who's used, as a pawn or as a puppet. Let's put that aside. The problem inherently with that is it's the twofold problem, but also let's take it this way. What if a serial killer is voting for Donald Trump or voting for any candidate? How do you know? And does that make that candidate some sort of something beyond what they're actually saying and doing and trying to implement and beyond their policy? I don't think it does. It's just like why the celebrity endorsements are really stupid. And it only works on stupid people, just like Laura Ingraham is a stupid person for tweeting that, because if the opposite is true, then the opposite is also true. And this is where the whole COVID thing starts to come in. Is like, if you're susceptible to the disease and there's a vaccine or a shot that will prevent said disease, then you should probably get said shot, which will then protect you from said disease. But no, I have to also get said shot to protect from the disease because I might spread it to you who has the protection from said disease. And this is like the same thing of like some sort of like mind virusy type thing, some sort of like, I can now, if we take this concept as truth, that if bad person endorses this person for political office, then that person is infected by them and now they're unelectable. Well, you've just laid out the path. You've laid out the path for your opposition, your enemy, your political side that you don't like, your political enemy, to take you out completely. And it's the same thing that the left tried to do with the whole David Duke, Alex Jones to an extent, Charlottesville, and the Fine People hoax, and all of that against Donald Trump in 2016. And you're using the same tactic. I know I've pointed this out numerous times. I'm going to point it out every fucking time that I fucking see it, that these people who are supposedly conservative and on the right, using the leftist tactics that 3, 4, 5 years ago, they were so vehemently against, and they always wanted to point out. It's the same thing of This is what made this such a hot button. Why Thomas Massie actually got primaried is nothing to do with Donald Trump and their disagreements, and it's everything to do with what he said about AIPAC. That's where this is all coming from. And if you don't believe me, that's fine. But AIPAC, in their own words, told you that's exactly what they were doing. Because after Thomas Massie lost, let's go and see what AIPAC had to say, shall we? AIPAC, May 19th, 2026. So that would have been the primary. This is that night, 8:45 p.m. my time, which is Central Correct Standard Time. AIPAC account on Twitter, America's Pro-Israel Lobby. Despite what your feelings of AIPAC may or may not be, this is in their own words. Ed Galrein's victory in Kentucky and Clay Fuller's win in Georgia ensures two outspoken pro-Israel voices are positioned to fill seats previously held by outspoken detractors, Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Our community was proud to help pro-Israel candidates win these races. Okay. They gave up the game, but this is where the whole I think I'm crazy, I feel like I'm crazy, the whole COVID thing comes right back, is that everyone who was anti-Massie and pro-Ed Galrein, the potato, says that didn't happen. That wasn't a thing. That AIPAC had nothing to do with it. It was because Thomas Massie said anti-Semitic, Nazi-like things and anti-Israel things. He never said those things is the problem. He never said anything that was anti-Semitic. Okay, so by your crazed Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin standard of anytime you question the relationship financially between the United States and Israel, that somehow makes you anti-Semitic, then I guess based on your retarded leftist, standard, he would have been anti-Semitic and a Nazi. Even though he never said anything about Jewish people, he never said anything negative about Jewish people. He never said anything negative necessarily about the Israeli government or the Israeli people. He has every right, as we all do, to question our entangled alliance with various nations. And if you want to say, well, it's not an entangling alliance, it kind of is, because Israel and Saudi Arabia, not exactly eye to eye on all of the things. So that we're allied with both countries, that would be somewhat of an entangling alliance. If those two countries started to get into it, we would kind of have to choose a side. And you start to kind of see this now with former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett, who I believe is going to try to become Prime Minister again based on some of the recent, I think it was article or tweet that I stumbled across. I wasn't even looking for. It looks like he's going to position himself to take out Netanyahu. I don't know if they're in the same party or opposing. I don't know anything about it. But the point is that Naftali Bennett, among others, especially if he's running for prime minister, you're not running for prime minister, he's running for seats, and then it's a whole thing. He's trying to be prime minister again. Just leave it at that. When he talks about that Turkey is the new Iran, that's a problem, because that is definitely an entangling alliance for the United States among other countries, because Turkey is a NATO member. That's a big problem. There's an Article 5. We're a treaty. We have formal treaties with them. We have formal agreements and alliances with them. I guess one can assume, I'm not 100% sure if we have like a formal agreement with Israel, or if it's whatever. Obviously, we have an agreement. We have a friendship there. We have an alliance. Fair enough. But that's kind of the entangling alliance. So if you're a guy like Thomas Massie, who kind of questions, first of all, here's Thomas Massie's platform. No foreign aid to any country. That's his platform. Unfortunately, that included Israel, and he pissed off the Israel lobby, and they went after him. And when I say they went after him, when you spend $30 million in a nowhere congressional runoff primary, that's a lot of money. I don't know where $30 million comes from. This is the other part where I feel like I'm crazy. There were so many people who were like anti-Massey who were pointing out that so much of Thomas Massey's money came from outside of Kentucky and a lot of it came from California. And it's like, yeah, it's kind of a grassroots thing in the Massey money bomb, and he's trying to get $5, $10, $20, $50, $100 here and there and kind of grassroots the thing. And by the way, I don't know how much money comes out of, comes from Arkansas and Oklahoma or vice versa to have these to fund political candidates. I mean, I don't know. I know there's a lot of people who support Massey. Massey has a really big following online. Massey is a very popular kind of, even outside of his state, he's a very popular figure because he's like was the one, like definitely like very moral, very high character, very just good dude in Congress. And of course, at some point you have to just get rid of that because you can't possibly have just a good guy. And he made the error of, pointing out things, not even necessarily criticizing so much as just pointing out how things happen, and being against the Iran war. He's anti-war. He's anti funding international governments or funding governments that are not the United States. Sorry, the dog is in here and he's wrestling around. So if you hear heavy panting, it's not me, it's him. It might be me later in the show. Not quite in the best shape or the greatest, as good a shape as I used to be, but he also distracts me. I would have him say hello, but yeah, we're not going to do that. So the other thing is like, if someone's funding a campaign kind of grassroots style and the money's coming from the various states of the United States, to me, that's not such a big deal. It's a little odd sometimes, but when you get these figures who are very popular social media wise, and they've been able to build kind of this like coalition outside of their own state, it's not necessarily that crazy when you get a very popular figure like that. But what is weird is when you have money coming from outside the United States in the tens of millions of dollars. And when you have an organization who represents a foreign country like AIPAC, if you're not familiar, AIPAC stands for American Israel Public Affairs Committee. And I'm not going to get into the whole FARA thing. That's a whole separate discussion. But these are American citizens lobbying Congress on behalf of the state of Israel, the country of Israel. This is where like the disconnect really comes in, is that if I chose another country, say like, let's just replace the I in AIPAC from Israel to Ireland. The American Ireland Public Affairs Committee. If you had a group who was lobbying, a group of Americans lobbying on behalf of Ireland and pumping money into, not only directly, but indirectly through other sources, through other PACs, through other campaign donations into elections, I think most people would kind of have a problem with that, even though, especially like yours truly, I have Irish heritage. I don't think that we want Ireland injecting themselves into our elections here in the United States, and that is a valid opinion. Now, why it's okay when it's the state of Israel and it's accepted and it's championed, and then people act like it didn't happen, even though AIPAC basically tells you that it did happen, I don't like that. And it's not because I have any problem with Israel. I don't give a fuck about Israel, which I know somehow makes me anti-Semitic. I care as much about Israel as I do Zimbabwe. Okay? I don't care about either of them. Look, I don't want either of them destroyed, although they can make the case for Zimbabwe. I don't want either country destroyed. I don't want their people hurt. I don't want them engaged in wars. I don't want their people to starve, to suffer, to be poor. I would like everyone to experience the United States levels of prosperity and security and all of those things. But I would like this country, the United States, to experience it more than anyone else. I would like for our country to be our country and our money to come here, and for foreign governments and for foreign actors and for people on behalf of foreign governments to stay the fuck out of our elections. That's what I would like. We all flipped out when Russia spent like 15 grand on some Facebook posts, and this was unforgivable. Ed Galrein's spend, and the final numbers aren't in, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of like $32 million for one congressional seat in Nowheresville, Kentucky. I mean, that in and of itself kind of tells you, that gives up the game right there. You know, it's just amazing that that there's this like disconnect, that because it's this favored nation, it's okay. I mean, if it was Germany, we would have a problem. If it was France, we would have a huge problem. But this whole like favored nation thing is pretty wild. You know, the other part is like, we all hate lobbying, right? Like we hate big pharma, we hate big tech, we hate the Chinese lobby, we hate all of these big lobby things. We hate the insurance lobby, and these guys exist, and gals exist, to develop policy that's in their favor. So if we take like big pharma, they would like to put a jab in everyone's arm all of a sudden out of this thing that's not that big a thing, but it seems like the flu, just maybe slightly a little worse. So we all hate that lobby, and we hate lobbying in general. I think most people despise lobbying as a principle, as a thing. If it could go away tomorrow, I think all of us would kind of be happy with that. So why is it when you have this lobby on behalf of a foreign nation, we're supposed to just accept it? And if you question it at all, you're an anti-Semite. Why do you hate Jews? Well, it's like, so here's the other part of that. I pointed it out before. I'm going to keep pointing it out. As everyone who will tell you how great Israel is, and I'm sure it's wonderful, they will tell you it's not an apartheid state. When you bring up Gaza, they'll tell you it's not an apartheid state because 25% of the population are non-Jewish folks. Arabs, Christians, Muslims, probably other atheists, whatever. But 25% of their population are not Jewish either by ancestry or by religion. So they're not an apartheid state. Not only do they have a 25% population that is non-Jewish, that population has every right that a Jewish Israeli has. They can vote, they can drive around, they can own property, they can do everything that, Ben Shapiro could do over there, or Netanyahu, or whomever. They have every single right, every same privilege, what have you. So, is AIPAC, are they lobbying on behalf of them too? And if so, then you're like, the people that will tell you're anti-Semitic for questioning AIPAC or Israel, the government of Israel, or anything like that. So, you're only 3/4 anti-Semitic? You're not full on, because 1/4 of your population is not Jewish. So I don't know, some sort of almost halfsies or something like that. Mind you, I'm a guy who wrote an article that said that Israel might need to do the thing that no one wants, or no one says they're allowed to do, and that's to ethnically cleanse the Palestinians, from the area. If you can't get along, maybe you need to move them. By the way, ethnic cleansing sounds horrible, as far as it sounds like you're going to murder everybody. It basically just means you're going to take this group and you're going to move them. Maybe that's what needs to happen, and then you can all get along peacefully over there in the Middle East. I don't know. I don't live there. I don't fucking care. This is the whole point. It's I don't care what Israel does. I just don't want to spend money we don't have on countries that don't have our interest at heart. And people go, oh no, but our interests line up with the interests of Israel usually. No, they don't, unless Israel's interest is the prosperity, peace, and longevity, and the overall betterment of the United States and its citizens, which it can't possibly be because, as I would expect, Israel operates in Israel's interest. Makes sense. Every country should. And I assume every country is, except Great Britain, because they're a bunch of cucked fucking losers on a shit-ass island with boiled meats. You know, you can say what you want about Vladimir Putin. Probably not a good guy, what have you. But the one thing you can't say about Vladimir Putin is that he doesn't care about Russia. That guy cares about his country. And he has the best interests of his country at heart. Does he make mistakes? Sure, he's human. But no one can question where his loyalty lies. It's with his country of Russia. Okay? That's all I want here. I don't want all of these like weird this is, again, it's the whole leftist thing of we're going to take this thing. It's the whole BLM thing just for anti-Semitism or for the Jewish people. Instead of BLM, it's JLM. And all of us rejected the whole BLM premise of Black Lives Matter. We said all lives matter. This is ridiculous. Again, this gets back to the whole like just manufactured consent and nonsense of the whole COVID lockdowns, masking, jabs, the summer of love, the BLM, all of that, the riots, all of that crap. It all played in on itself, and now here's the right doing it to itself and policing itself, acting like the left. You know, you can get into the deep, dark world of neoconservatism, where it started, where it came from, and how all of those guys were nothing but Trotskyites who then became Republicans when they basically had to leave the Democrat Party. They had to leave the left because it wasn't working. So they all became neocons and invaded the right. You see this happen constantly. You see it all going around. You know, there's two more tweets that I bookmarked here. Both of them are from Haaretz, which is a Israeli publication, you know, online newspaper. They probably have a physical newspaper. I don't know. Again, don't live in Israel. But they posted on May 19th from Haaretz, and it's behind a paywall, but if you want to pay for it, you can. Allegedly, they're a conservative outlet there in Israel. Can neither confirm nor deny that. It's just what I've been hearing. But anyway, Haaretz comes out and says the most consequential Republican primary for Israel is happening in Kentucky. Okay. That's the headline. The most consequential Republican primary for Israel is happening in Kentucky. What am I supposed to think about that? The most consequential Republican primary for Israel is happening in Kentucky. Now, that can be as basic as for Israel is doing a lot of heavy lifting there. I'll freely admit that. And that can be as simple as aid. Foreign aid. But the problem with that is, if you go that route, is Thomas Massie is one of 435 representatives. He has no real power to block that. Now, could he put together some sort of coalition to do that? Potentially. But that is not there at this time. So that's really like a stretch if we're going to go that route. But here's another headline from Haaretz. This was from May 20th that they tweeted. Pro-Israel spending may have achieved its goal in Kentucky, but at what cost? Now, that is a fantastic topic to talk about, because if you're spending $30 million to take a nothing seat in Kentucky, okay, there's 435 seats. Are you going to spend $30 million every time? Possibly $35 million? Are you going to now apply that to the Senate as well to get like the pro-Israel candidates to win and get them over the line? How deep are your pockets? This is an untenable goal, okay? The other part of this is when you do the demographic or the age breakdowns in the Massey race, what you see is this huge disconnect. And I mean huge disconnect. Thomas Massey basically got every young person, and Ed Galrine got like all the boomers. Like the lion's share of the boomers, both boomer generations, who are the ones who actually go and vote in primaries. The young people don't vote in primaries. They might show up for the general, but the primary vote, not really doing it, dog. So, of the ones that did, Massey got them in a landslide. Okay? So, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see what's coming. This is a very, very narrow, and this is really my biggest point of this whole episode is you have to look at the bigger picture when it not only comes to how you're going to frame things as far as your candidate and things that are off limits and things that they can do and people who have endorsed them. There's that part of it. Because what happens is the thing you use to demonize the other guy that's not based in reality or based in logic is going to be used against you in the general. And it's going to be very easy. And there's not going to be anything you can do about it because you're going to have the New York Times, the Los Angeles Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MS, whatever. They're all going to use it against you, and they're going to go, see, well, you said, blah, 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 this guy endorsed that guy, so, well, there you go. And that's how they're going to play it out. But the bigger picture here, the biggest picture, the 50,000 foot view is the boomers are going to die, okay? I hate to break that to you, but when you're 80 years old, you ain't got a lot of life left in you, dog. So if we take like the average lifespan, I think it's like 80, 83. If half the boomers drop dead in 3 years, what's that look like in 2028, 2029, 2030? What does that really look like? So I've been saying this for a while, and it doesn't, call me anti-Semitic all you want. I'm not fucking anti-Semitic. I don't care where you're from, how you grew up, what religion you pray to, and all of that. I don't even care if you're fucking Muslim. It doesn't matter to me. Your actions matter to me. The way you act is going to be how I treat you. If you act like an idiot, I'll treat you like an idiot. If you act grateful, I'll treat you grateful. And that's going to work both ways. I expect that in return. So the thing is like, there's a coming, like, come to Jesus meeting. Sorry, I don't mean that anti-Semitically. I know you guys, it's not your Lord and Savior, but it's just the parlance, okay? There's going to be a come to Jesus meeting within the political realm, and the topic that's going to be on the table with Jesus is the Israel lobby and Israel itself, okay? This is coming. The young people from Gen X is basically like, they're pretty well out. Gen Y, which is the millennials, which is my generation, really out. And Gen Z, God help you if they take over, because they're out. They are out. The other thing about like this Ed Galrein guy is the only thing that I saw that he actually said out loud that he was for was the military draft, which, yeah, that's cool. You're fighting a very unpopular war right now. It hasn't kicked off again yet in Iran, but it's supposed to kick off again here pretty shortly. I just saw before I came on here. And so we're going to draft military-age males to go fight and die in another sand trap. Yeah, no, bro. Ain't happening. Anyway, so, but the bigger picture is it's coming. And this question is going to have to be answered. Donald Trump may be able to outrun this and outlast this, but when you get to the midterms, Ed Galrein might win and get into Congress. Very easily could win that district and get into Congress. The thing is like you're already underwater in the midterms with a very unpopular war, a struggling economy and high gas prices, and some very, very, very big uncertainty within the United States and its economy. Okay, we don't know where it's headed, and everything looks a little shaky. Paying $4 plus a gallon for gas here in the state of Oklahoma is unforgivable, unfortunately. And the shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz is yet to be fully felt yet. So there's that part. But the other part of this is when you get to those midterms, people vote based on their daily life. They're not voting based on bigger picture things a lot of times. So you're already lined up to get your teeth kicked in the 2026 midterms, okay? So when you go in and you do this whole thing, you're going to primary these other candidates, and you're going to get the Trump-backed candidate in. The thing that you're getting is you're getting a subsection. You're getting the most dedicated, like, boomers who go and vote in these primaries, who are the most pro-Trump, and so they're going to vote for the Trump guy. But when you get into the general, you have to get the independents, and you have to get the younger generations, and you're definitely not getting the Democrat, okay? You're not getting anyone coming across the aisle. What's going to happen is all of the independents that Trump was able to cobble together with this coalition in 2024 have told you to fuck right off. We are not voting for you. We're not voting for your candidates. Me personally, I'm not voting for any motherfucker because I don't have anyone to vote for, and I'm not going to vote left, so I'm going to stay home. That's what's going to happen to me. I'm not going to take the time out of my day to go cast a vote for anyone in a party who is just standing behind all of this shenanigans and bullshit. I'm not doing it. I'm not right now. I'm at the point where I'm never voting again. Until the boomers are gone and they have no say-so in the elections or minimal, I don't think I'm ever voting again. I'm taking the path of apathy. Oh, but you have to vote. It's a sacred right. First of all, it's not a fucking right. It's a privilege. And it's a privilege I can choose to exercise or not. And I'm choosing not to. Apathy should be the way. If the Democrat wins, so fucking be it. That's fine. You can be like Cron and call me a retarded accelerationist. That's fine. I don't really care, man. I've been called way fucking worse by people with actual fucking names. I'm not worried about it. Call me whatever name you want. The thing is you have to call me a name because you know I'm fucking right. That's the whole thing. The whole game is this. With the current GOP in the way it is, and with the candidates now that are like the backed Trump candidates that passed the primary, that won their primaries, all you're doing is slowly getting to where the left was 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago. That's all we're doing. That's it. I'm not for that. I don't have a candidate I can vote for, so I say, let's accelerate this motherfucker and hit the wall hard, and we'll use the tools that we have behind us to exacerbate that, alleviate that. Maybe we balkanize more. Maybe we do a national divorce. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is this. I'm out. This whole thing, I feel like I'm the crazy person because I'm looking at this. You know, I have no dog in this fight. Yes, I'm a Thomas Massie fan. Think he's a great guy. Think he's a wonderful person. Think he's done a lot of great things. Do I agree with him on everything? Absolutely not. But I can tell you that he is voting the way that he believes in. His vote is not up for sale. And he is, like him or not, he is who he is. You don't have to worry about him. He seems like a very honest guy. It's pretty wild that all the same people who have a problem with Erica Kirk being talked about by Candace Owens, which I get, or Erica Kirk being questioned whatsoever, this, that, or the other, are really, really quiet when Donald Trump insulted not only Joe Kent remarrying and his ex-wife, or not his ex-wife, his deceased wife, which happened under Trump, mind you, in Syria, in a war he should have got out of, tried to get out of and couldn't because he's too weak. And also Thomas Massie's wife who passed away, and he got remarried, and he insulted all of them. So save me the Erica Kirk bullshit, okay? Maybe you should just have a policy of not insulting anyone's widow. Maybe do that. Maybe leave the wives and husbands out of this, and maybe they don't catch the strays, okay? I'm going to take the time, too, to talk shit, or to tell Tucker Carlson that what he did in his latest episode was, I thought, horrific. He responded to the Thomas Massie thing. He brought up Charlie Kirk, played a clip of Charlie Kirk having Thomas Massie on, invoked Charlie Kirk. I don't like that. Charlie's gone. Let him be gone. Okay. Charlie's not here to defend himself, to clarify himself, to anything. Using Charlie Kirk in your podcast was very low rent. It was very disappointing, to say the least. Did not like that. Let him go, man. He's gone. You know, the other thing is, like, these same people that are telling me that if I question along with Massey, the foreign aid to countries, including Israel, that I'm anti-Semitic. They will also tell you, like the God-sods of the world will tell you that, especially him, will tell you that Islam is irreconcilable. Okay? Basically, every Muslim is a jihadi in waiting, is what he'll tell you. Even though you have a ton of Muslims in the United States who do nothing. I was waiting for, when the mosque shooting happened in San Diego, I was just waiting for God-sod to like be cheering because someone attacked a mosque. It didn't happen. I was waiting for Laura Ingraham, who tells me that all Muslims are bad and they're all jihadis, and waiting to be championing the San Diego mosque shooting. If all Muslims are bad, shouldn't we be attacking mosques left and right? Shouldn't we be getting rid of them? Or is there another reason that you're saying those things? I don't know what that reason would be. I don't know why you would say those things. I don't know why you would take every person of a certain religion that has over 1 billion people worldwide and say that they're all evil, bad, child rapists, child marrying murderers who are waiting to strap a bomb to their chest and blow up Christians and Jews and what have you. Oh, but in the Quran it says X, Y, and Z. Have you read the Old Testament? Have you read the Talmud? Have you read some of those? Just because the book says it doesn't mean you have to follow it to a T. There's also that part. Okay, calm down. Calm down. You're fine. You don't have to follow it to a T. And the idea that the Muslims are going to follow it to a T and they're going to have to kill everyone in the West is ridiculous. Okay? Yes, you have crazy Muslims, you have crazy Jews, you have crazy Christians, you have crazy Hindus probably, all of that. There's always crazies within religion, okay? It kind of attracts crazies if we're being honest here. Not that you're all crazy, but it does attract some crazies to it. You can kind of pick and choose the things that you do or don't do. You can look at a book that says, we should kill all the infidels, and you're like, yeah, no, I don't think we should kill all the infidels. I think we're good. We should just live peacefully, and then we could live our lives based on these other principles. Thou shalt not murder. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet the neighbor's cow or something, or what have you. You know, it's just like you can take like the United States Constitution, and how many people know what the Third Amendment says? Well, the Third Amendment says something about quartering horses, quartering soldiers in citizens' homes. Do we really need that one? Well, no, but we have it. We're just like, well, we're definitely not going to do that. So we don't even really pay attention to it. I guess you could make the case that like you couldn't have a police officer set in your house, and at least that Third Amendment's there for like, you would think it would be there kind of for spying as well. But that's also like the Fourth Amendment. So anyway, the point is like, no matter what it is, it's not 100% that you follow this thing, that you do this thing to a T. You kind of pick and choose. You take the broad strokes. You take the big stuff. And then you leave off the rest. So, I mean, if everything was so bad for the Muzzies, you should be celebrating the fact that someone shot up a mosque, right? But no one did. So it just means they're liars. And the last thing I want to get to, we'll close with this. This is just, I don't understand these things for the life of me. This is one of those things that's going to backfire. So this is a tweet from disclose.tv from May 19th. United States Department of Justice announces a 15-city nationwide anti-Semitism awareness and action tour to increase reporting of anti-Semitism, strengthen collaboration between local and federal law enforcement and Jewish communities, and foster broad interfaith opposition to anti-Semitism among Jews, Baptist Christians, Catholics, and Muslims. Okay, so if you can foster broad interfaith opposition to anti-Semitism within the Muslim community, so God-sod is either lying or stupid. Stupid or liar, which is it, God? But anyway, so not sure where this article is from. It says Washington Department of Justice Task Force To combat anti-Semitism today announced the launch of a 15-city national awareness and action tour to combat anti-Semitism. Okay, so apparently Leo Terrell, the guy who wears like the Leo 2.0 hat on Fox and the MAGA hat on Fox, is going to be leading this thing, which is he'll lead the tour. This is okay. So let's read. The goals of the tour include: 1, increasing reporting of anti-Semitic incidents by local officials. Like they wouldn't report them anyway. Bullet point number 2, strengthening collaboration between local law enforcement, federal agencies, and Jewish communities. Why only? Okay. Bullet point number 3, strengthening broad interfaith opposition to anti-Semitism among Jewish, Baptist, Christian, Catholic, and Muslim communities. And 4th bullet point, addressing anti-Semitism in K-12 schools and teacher unions to ensure students are protected from discrimination and harassment. I don't think this is going to do what you think it's going to do. I have this haunting suspicion this might backfire. And also, let's just get at the point, the elephant in the room here, if you will, even though it's a panting dog. Let's plug and play a little Mad Lib. So, if that thing said, what if they set up a Department of Justice task force to combat slavery? Or lynching? Or the otherwise, degradation of the black race? Would we accept that? Because based on the Constitution, which I'll bring up again, neither race, nor sex, nor religion, nor creed, we don't discriminate. Everyone's equal. I'm equal to a black man is equal to me, to a black woman, to a Jewish man, woman, child, whatever. We're all equal under the law, right? This makes us unequal under the law. This is like the whole hate crime. Is it some sort of enhancement? Even though you can't have a hate crime against a straight white guy. Even though you can call me honky as you beat me to death, and you can call me cornbread, and you can call me any number of things as you beat me to death, it's still not a hate crime because a minority cannot perform a hate crime on a majority, even though we'll see what happens when I'm no longer the majority within this country. I mean, is there a hate crime against like Hispanics? I mean, it's just so absurd on its face, this whole thing of like, this is a protected class. This is a protected group. This is we're working towards some sort of caste system here. It's all there. It's all right in front of everyone. And the biggest problem I have with it, one, is it creates, like I said, these. Good job, you shut the door. It creates these protected classes within the American populace. But the other thing it does is it breeds the exact thing that you don't want. Do you think BLM helped bring down racism? Or do you think it kind of pumped it up a little bit when everyone's rioting, burning stuff, flipping over cars, and we're seeing this on television? And social media. Do you think that made people like black people more? Or do you think that made them move away from them more? Which one is it? So do you think this whole anti-Semitism laws, rules, tour, what have you, is going to bring down the level of anti-Semitism? Or do you think it's going to bring it? Especially, most of this appears to be like directed towards young people and where young people are. You could sit there and say, do we have a problem with like other Jewish churches and peoples and Baptist Christians and Catholics and even Muslims in this country, like just practicing anti-Semitism? Like, why don't you reach out to, like, I don't know, the KKK, the skinheads that they're still around? What? I don't even know what the KKK is. You know who you should reach out to? You should reach out to the Southern Poverty Law Center because they were funding all of the shit you supposedly hate. That's who you should reach out to. Maybe we shut them down. Maybe we tell them to quit funding these people who preach anti-Semitic, anti-black, all of these racist tropes out there. maybe you stop funding them. Maybe you take those people and, I don't know, give them a one-way ticket to the fucking moon. Maybe that's where you start. Don't go to the K through 12 and hit the kids young and hit them early and turn them completely against you and your whole movement. You can have your movement that combats anti-Semitism. That's fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a group that combats anti-Semitism. The problem comes in, just like with the Black Lives Matter, is that now you're going to have a need that outstrips the supply. Just like, oh, it must have been racism against Bubba Wallace when they found that noose, quote unquote, in that garage, when it turns out it was just the pull thing for the goddamn garage door, but we had to usher out the FBI and we had to make some hero out of fucking Bubba Wallace, who I think has won a race by this point. God, I hope so. But all of a sudden, he's the world's greatest NASCAR driver, and his star shot up, and a whole bunch of people in NASCAR was like, fuck that guy. I don't know. I don't think it's going to help you. I don't think it's going to help your movement. I think it's only going to hurt, because the supply and demand is not there. The supply of anti-Semitism versus the demand for anti-Semitism to prove to everyone there's anti-Semitism happening, it's not there. But you're going to create that with all of this bullshit. Can't you just be fucking Americans? I don't need fucking hyphenated Americans. I don't even acknowledge hyphenated Americans. I only acknowledge Americans. If you have to hyphenate, whether that's Black American, Hispanic American, African American, Jewish American, white American, European American, Irish American, Scottish American, Japanese American, fuck off. You're the thing before American unless you're just a American. That's what you are. It's the Teddy Roosevelt speech to the Knights of Columbus. We don't acknowledge hyphenated Americans because we don't have dual loyalties. We have one loyalty, and that is to the United States of America, our peace, our prosperity, our citizens, our way of life, our culture, and the way we do things, because we're the baddest motherfuckers on the planet who have ever lived, and we're going to keep it that way, because I, for one, am not going to buy into this nonsense. I'm not insane. I can see everything happening, and if you want to be pro-Israel, that's fine. Please go live there. Be as pro-Israel as you want. Don't be pro-Israel here, okay? Be pro-America here. We're Americans. That's what we do. Don't be pro-fucking German here either. Go to Germany. Wait for World War III so we can kick your ass again. That's if you don't freeze to death because you decided to get rid of all of your power plants and the way you heat things, and now there's a war in Russia. Not my problem. Go be dumb Germans in Germany. If you're here and you're an American, be an American. We don't need the hyphens. We don't need all of the, like, I'm going to do this for that and blah, blah, blah. Be pro-America. That's all we need. We're protecting our United States, the most beloved, amazing country ever to exist. Look, guys, if you were born here, just like I was, you hit the geographical lottery. Embrace it. Do not be apologetic about it. That's where the whole toxic American thing comes from. Be toxically American. 100% America. America first means America first. I don't care what the other country is. It's not America first. There's only one America, and it's us. It's the United States of America, and it's America first. That's the message that got Donald Trump reelected. That's the message that got Donald Trump elected the first time. And that's the message that got him elected again. And it's the message that is going to keep this country going. It's going to keep the radical left nutters out of office who want to trans your kids. But the more you keep, vying for other countries, the more you keep vying for all this other leftist nonsensical talking points and about how much hate is out there and how this group is better than that group. You might not say it out loud, but everyone's reading it going, why do you think your group's better than my group when my group is the United States of America? Look, this is what has made Nick Fuentes so big. That dipshit should be this big. There is no reason that people should be listening to Nick Fuentes other than there's a vacuum there speaking to young white males in the United States. There's no reason it shouldn't be the GOP or Republican Party other than they seem to be completely co-opted and serving two masters, which you can't do. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining in. Thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, do all the things. Go to diefreeco.com. Use code TOXIC10 for save 10%. And until next time, everybody, be Americans. Be the best toxic American you can be. Have a good weekend.